Before the sun rises, before the world awakens, there's a man already grinding, running miles, lifting iron, pulling back his bow with unwavering focus. That man is Cameron Hanes, and his story isn't just about physical toughness. It's about mental dominance, relentless discipline, and the refusal to settle for average. Welcome to Undeniable: How to Reach the Top and Stay There, an unfiltered, adrenaline-fueled look inside the mindset of a modern-day warrior. From endurance to ethics, pain to purpose, Cameron Hanes shares the code that made him elite, not because he was born special, but because he chose to keep hammering. Whether you're an athlete, a leader, or simply someone fighting to become better than you were yesterday, this audiobook will challenge you, motivate you, and change how you face life. Let's dive into the lessons of grit, sacrifice, and unstoppable momentum. This is not just a story, it's a battle cry. Cameron Hanes' philosophy: keep hammering, a relentless pursuit of excellence. In the quiet hours before dawn, while most of the world still sleeps, Cameron Hanes laces up his shoes and steps into the darkness. The streets are empty, the trails unforgiving, and the mountain air cuts cold against his skin. Yet, day after day, he shows up, not for applause, not for validation, but because this is who he is. He hammers. Keep hammering isn't just a phrase stitched onto a hoodie or posted to a motivational feed. It's a philosophy, a daily discipline, a way of living that refuses to bow to comfort or convenience. For Hanes, the hammer is not a tool. It's a symbol of perseverance. It's the act of striking the anvil of life over and over again, shaping the self through repetition, through sweat, through pain. At its core, keep hammering is about pushing the boundaries of what is physically, mentally, and emotionally possible. It's the acknowledgement that greatness is not a singular event, but a series of hard-earned moments built quietly in the shadows. Hanes isn't chasing perfection, he's chasing progress. Every run, every lift, every arrow loosed from his bow is another swing of the hammer, a strike against mediocrity, against self-doubt, against the seductive pull of ease. Physically, the philosophy demands endurance. Cameron runs ultramarathons, grueling tests of stamina where the body screams to quit. But he doesn't stop. He runs on tired legs after long days of labor because he knows that discomfort is a teacher, pain is a tool, and limits, they are illusions. Mentally, it's about resilience. Life throws storms, injury, criticism, failure, and Hanes has seen them all. But he doesn't retreat. He leans into the adversity. He uses it. Every setback becomes a story, every scar a reminder that he can take more. The mind, he believes, is the ultimate battlefield, and every day you show up, you win another inch. Emotionally, keep hammering means staying grounded in purpose. For Cameron, that purpose is rooted in discipline, family, passion, and the pursuit of mastery, particularly in the ancient and demanding craft of bowhunting. His commitment isn't about ego. It's about earning the right to step into nature, to honor the animal, to live with integrity. His strength doesn't come from being better than others. It comes from being better than he was yesterday. The hammer swings every day. When it's raining, when it's hard, when it hurts. There's no audience, no glory, only the quiet satisfaction of knowing that progress was made, that weakness was shed, and that one more brick was laid in the wall of mental toughness. Cameron Hanes reminds us that there is no shortcut to excellence, no comfort zone where greatness grows. Keep hammering means showing up again and again, long after the feeling of motivation has faded. It means doing the work no one sees, so you can become the person no one forgets. It's not about running faster or lifting heavier. It's about living harder, deeper, and truer. Because in the end, the hammer doesn't shape the world. It shapes you. From average to elite, Cameron Hanes' transformation journey. Cameron Hanes didn't start life with a silver spoon or the spotlight.
He wasn't born with a chiseled frame, world-class endurance, or a list of accolades behind his name. In fact, for much of his early life, he blended into the background. A small-town kid from Oregon, unsure of his path, struggling with self-worth, and living what many would consider an average life. But deep within, even before he had the words to name it, a fire was quietly smoldering. That fire would one day become an inferno. For Haynes, transformation wasn't triggered by a single life-altering moment. It was forged through countless ordinary days, stacked one on top of the other, filled with sweat, discipline, and relentless willpower. His rise from average to elite didn't happen overnight. It happened when he made a decision to stop living passively and start pursuing greatness with everything he had. At first, running was just a way to stay in shape for bow hunting, but soon it became something more, a ritual of self-conquest. He wasn't chasing finish lines, he was chasing the man he knew he could become. Cameron didn't have a coach, a sponsorship, or a personal trainer. What he had was hunger, and day after day, mile after mile, that hunger transformed him. He began running farther, longer, harder. He worked a full-time job pouring concrete, then came home to train when most people collapsed into a couch. He pushed his body through pain most can't imagine, running ultramarathons that stretched 100 miles or more through rugged terrain. He didn't run because it was easy. He ran because it was hard, because the struggle was the point. In parallel, he honed his craft as a bow hunter, not a weekend hobbyist, but a dedicated student of the hunt. He trained obsessively with his bow, firing thousands of arrows to sharpen his precision and control. For Haynes, bow hunting wasn't about trophies. It was about respect, for the animal, for the wilderness, and for the discipline it demanded. Each stride on the trail and each draw of the bow was an act of transformation, proof that with commitment, the average can become elite. But perhaps the most remarkable part of his story is this. Even as he rose, Cameron Haynes never forgot where he came from. He doesn't pretend to be superhuman. He just refuses to be average anymore. His journey is not about talent. It's about effort. It's about showing up when no one's watching, grinding when no one believes in you, and pushing through every excuse. It's about proving, first to yourself and then to the world, that greatness is not reserved for the chosen few. It is earned, hour by hour, rep by rep, mile by mile. Cameron Haynes became elite not because he was different, but because he chose to become different. And every time he laces up his shoes, draws back his bow, or tells someone to keep hammering, he reminds us, you don't have to be born great. You just have to refuse to settle.
Work ethic versus natural talent. The truth Cameron Haynes lives by. In a world obsessed with raw talent, highlight reels, and overnight success, Cameron Haynes is a defiant voice of truth. He doesn't believe in shortcuts. He doesn't believe in luck. And he certainly doesn't believe that greatness is handed out at birth. To Haynes, success is earned in sweat, in sacrifice, and in the quiet, brutal repetition of hard work when no one is watching. Cameron wasn't born a superhuman. He wasn't the strongest, fastest, or most gifted. He didn't stand out in his early years, not in sports, not in academics, not in anything that the world typically applauds. But what set him apart, what would come to define him, was a decision that he would outwork everyone. Talent may open the first door, but it's work ethic that keeps you in the room. And Haynes, he kicks the door down and builds a new one every single day. His message is simple, but it hits with force. You don't need to be born extraordinary. You need to work extraordinarily hard. It's a mindset he's applied to every area of his life. Whether he's running 100-mile ultramarathons, perfecting his archery with thousands of shots, or training after 10-hour workdays, Haynes proves that consistency will always outlast talent when talent stops showing up. He lives by this truth. Talent fades without discipline. Motivation dies without action. And potential is worthless if it's never pursued with effort. Every early morning run, every lift after work, every sore muscle and bloody toe is a testament to this belief. He doesn't train because it's glamorous. He trains because excellence demands it. There are no excuses, no waiting for the perfect conditions. The trail doesn't care how tired you are. The mountain doesn't care how naturally athletic you might be. You either show up or you don't. Haynes shows up every single day. In his world, there's no room for entitlement. He doesn't envy those with more talent. He outlasts them. He doesn't chase perfection. He chases progress. And in that pursuit, he becomes something greater than gifted. He becomes unstoppable. Because while talent might get you noticed, it's work ethic that gets you remembered. So when Cameron Haynes says keep hammering, he's not just talking about pushing weights or pounding pavement. He's talking about a way of life, a commitment to hard work over hype, discipline over desire, grit over gift. And in doing so, he rewrites the rules of greatness, not for the chosen few, but for anyone willing to put in the work. Daily discipline and sacrifice. Discipline doesn't shout. It whispers in the early hours of the morning before the world stirs. It moves silently through the dark, lacing up shoes while others are still in bed, stepping into the cold while comfort begs you to stay warm. For Cameron Haynes, this is not just a habit, it's a way of life. To the outside world, his achievements seem almost unreal. Elite endurance athlete, master bowhunter, author, icon of grit. But behind every accolade lies an unrelenting foundation, daily discipline and sacrifice. Because Cameron knows a simple truth: you cannot have excellence without a price. His day doesn't start when it's convenient. It starts early. While others sleep, he runs. While others make excuses, he trains. While others quit, he continues. He sacrifices what's easy for what's necessary. And the difference between those who dream and those who do, it's found in those invisible hours where no one's watching, no one's cheering, and no one's handing out trophies. Discipline for Haynes means showing up even when the motivation dies. It means running after a 10-hour workday, not because he wants to, but because it's required. It means shooting his bow hundreds of times, not just until he gets it right, but until he can't get it wrong. It means skipping parties, saying no to distractions, and choosing discomfort over pleasure again and again. Because Cameron isn't trying to be good, he's trying to be great. And greatness doesn't bend to feelings. It demands consistency. It requires structure. It feeds on sacrifice. While others look for balance, Haynes lives in intensity. He juggles fatherhood, work, training, and hunting with a singular mindset. Nothing will be given, but everything can be earned. That means early mornings, long nights, sore muscles, missed social events, and pushing through when the body screams for rest. There's pain in that process, real, physical, mental, emotional pain. But for Haynes, that pain is sacred. It's the proof of progress, the toll required to reach the summit. Because peak performance is not a reward, it's a responsibility. And to hold that standard across every area of life, family, fitness, career, purpose, it takes a level of discipline most are unwilling to maintain. But Cameron Haynes isn't most people. He is the man in the shadows, hammering away when no one's looking. He is the runner who chooses another mile, the archer who takes another shot, the father who shows up even after giving everything to the mountain. He understands the weight of sacrifice, and he carries it willingly, because he knows this: discipline today is the freedom to perform tomorrow. So the next time you wonder what it takes to live at your peak, remember this: it's not magic, it's not talent, it's not luck, it's discipline, and it's sacrifice, every single day. Mental fortitude and pain tolerance. Cameron Haynes' inner battlefield. Pain is not the enemy. For Cameron Hanes, it is the teacher. Most people run from discomfort. They avoid it, numb it, deny it. But Hanes runs toward it, sometimes literally. Because in his world, pain is not a sign to stop. It's a signal to grow. And the ability to endure it, to keep hammering through the agony, the fear, the fatigue, is what separates the ordinary from the elite. Mental fortitude is not built in comfort. It is carved from the raw edges of suffering. And Hanes has made suffering a companion, not a curse. Whether he's deep into a 100-mile ultramarathon with his toenails gone and his legs shredded, or climbing a steep mountain in the freezing dark to pursue an elk, the pain is always there, screaming, begging him to quit. But that voice, the one that tells most people to stop, is the one Hanes has learned to silence. Not by magic, not by will alone, but through repetition, resilience, and relentless intent. His training is not just physical, it's psychological warfare. Every mile run on tired legs, every cold morning he forces himself out of bed, every extra rep when his muscles are on fire. These are not workouts, they are declarations. Cameron is telling his mind, you don't control me, I control you. And that mindset is what allows him to endure what most cannot. Pain tolerance for Hanes is not about numbness. He feels everything. The aches, the exhaustion, the setbacks, the doubt. But what makes him different is his relationship with those feelings. He doesn't resist them. He uses them. He turns pain into fuel, into focus, into fire. There's no illusion of invincibility here. He has broken down. He has been injured. He has lost. But never has he surrendered. Because mental toughness isn't about never falling. It's about getting back up every time, stronger and more defiant than before. He speaks often of the inner savage, a version of himself that is forged in suffering. That savage isn't born from talent. He is built in pain, in the daily grind, in the lonely moments when no one claps for your effort. That's where Hanes thrives, where comfort dies and character is revealed. Every blister, every failure, every moment of doubt is a challenge to his mental fortress. And every time he answers back with grit, he reinforces the walls. He becomes sharper, tougher, more unbreakable. For Cameron Hanes, mental fortitude is not optional. It is survival. It is freedom. It is the foundation of everything he does. Because when the body wants to quit, only the mind can carry you forward. And when pain knocks, he doesn't flinch. He opens the door. Fitness as a foundation, the engine behind Cameron Hanes' greatness. For Cameron Hanes, fitness isn't about six-pack abs or Instagram validation. It's not a phase, a trend, or a vanity metric. It's the foundation, the bedrock upon which every other success in his life is built. Physical fitness, to Hanes, is a contract with the self. It's discipline made visible. It's strength born from suffering. It's a commitment that bleeds into every area: his family, his career, his bow hunting, his mindset. Because when the body is forged in effort, the mind follows. And when both body and mind are sharp, there's nothing, truly nothing, that's unreachable. In his world, fitness isn't a checkbox, it's a requirement. When others look for motivation, he looks at his running shoes. When the day gets hard, he leans on the iron in the gym and the grind of the trail. It's not about performance for the crowd, it's about preparation for the storm. Every early run, every grueling lift, every breathless climb is not an act of ego, it's an act of readiness. Because life is unpredictable, nature is unforgiving. Challenges don't wait for convenience. So Hanes trains his body the way a warrior sharpens a blade, constantly, deliberately, without excuse. And what happens when you condition yourself at the physical level? Everything else rises to meet that standard. His fitness fuels his endurance in ultramarathons that stretch 200 miles. It sharpens his bow hunting ability deep in the wilderness, where failure isn't just disappointing, it's dangerous. It allows him to show up fully as a father, a worker, a leader, because energy isn't optional when others rely on you. Fitness becomes a mindset. When you discipline your body, you discipline your life. This is what most people miss. They think fitness is about looking good. Haynes knows better. It's about feeling powerful, being capable, and preparing yourself to meet adversity, not just in the gym, but in the real world where it counts. His workouts are not just physical routines. They are rituals, proof of his promise to himself that he will not settle, that he will not soften, that he will not be caught off guard, physically, mentally, or emotionally. Because when you're fit, not just in body, but in purpose, you can face anything. The climb, the pain, the failure, the unexpected. Fitness for Haynes is the silent advantage. It's the unseen force behind his resilience, his confidence, his unrelenting pursuit of mastery. And when your foundation is strong, the rest of your life can rise without fear of collapse. Bow hunting and the power of purpose. Fueling the relentless mind. In a world driven by noise, speed, and instant gratification, Cameron Haynes chooses the bow, a primitive weapon, a silent art, a pursuit that demands more patience than bravado, more discipline than flash. Bow hunting, for Haynes, isn't a sport. It's a sacred calling. It's where his purpose lives. Out in the wilderness, miles from comfort, surrounded by silence and sweat and raw nature, this is where he becomes who he was meant to be. Not for the kill, not for the glory, but for the process, the chase, the communion between human and wild. Purpose lives in that process. It breathes in the early wake-ups. It pulses through every grueling training run. It whispers through the wind as he draws back his bow, steady and focused after days of tracking, climbing, enduring. It's not about hunting, it's about becoming. Because when a man finds his purpose, he finds his power. Bow hunting gives Cameron something bigger than himself to serve, something that demands his best every single day. You can't cheat the mountain. You can't shortcut the preparation. If you want to succeed in the backcountry, where failure could mean a lost opportunity, or worse, you have to be sharper, stronger, more focused than most are willing to be. That's why he trains year-round. That's why he runs 200 miles in ultramarathons. That's why he lifts when his body is tired, shoots when the light is fading, and never lets comfort soften his edge. Because purpose makes discipline easier. When you know why you suffer, the suffering becomes sacred. Bow hunting taught Haynes that. It taught him to respect the land, to respect the animal, and, most of all, to respect himself. To honor the commitment to be ready when the moment comes. Not kind of ready, not almost, ready. And that readiness doesn't start on the hunt. It starts in the darkness, far from applause or approval. It starts in the repetition, the preparation, the years of stacking quiet effort. That's the power of purpose. It pulls you forward when motivation fades. It lifts your discipline from a daily chore to a deeper devotion. It gives your struggle a story. For Haynes, the bow is more than a tool. It's a reminder that success isn't given, that mastery requires reverence, that true passion demands the full weight of your effort. So whether he's chasing elk in the high country or chasing growth in his daily life, Haynes carries that fire, the purpose that makes him relentless, that sharpens his body and mind, and that proves this one truth. When you find your purpose, you'll find your power. Staying grounded while climbing high. The humble ascent of Cameron Haynes. In a world obsessed with recognition, Cameron Haynes walks a different trail, one paved with sweat, silence, and self-respect. He may run alongside the elites, conquer ultramarathons, and stand as one of the most respected bow hunters on the planet, but the ground beneath his feet, it never leaves him. Because success to Haynes isn't a pedestal, it's a platform for gratitude. And humility isn't weakness, it's his compass. While many climb only to shout from the summit, Haynes climbs to become better, not louder, not prouder, just stronger, quieter, more resolute in his mission. He never forgets where he came from, an average small-town kid. Not born with privilege, not handed a roadmap, just a man with a deep desire to prove, mostly to himself, that limits were illusions and greatness was earned, not inherited. That memory keeps him grounded. Every early morning, every training run, every bow draw under the stars, it all stems from that inner fire that once burned inside a man nobody saw coming. Fame didn't change him. Discipline shaped him. And the higher he climbs, the more rooted he becomes in the values that built him: honor, effort, integrity, and relentless respect for the journey. He knows that ego is a fragile mask, and when you worship your own reflection, the fall is only a matter of time. That's why Haynes chooses humility. He lets his work speak. He honors his supporters. He surrounds himself not with hype, but with heart. His family, his close friends, his fellow grinders. Even as his influence grows, he doesn't use it to separate himself from others. He uses it to pull people up, to share the message. You don't have to be special to be great. You just have to refuse to quit. Gratitude runs deep in Haynes' veins. Grateful for his health, for his calling, for the chance to suffer and improve every day. He doesn't see hardship as a curse. It's the proving ground, the sacred space where real confidence is born. That's what makes his climb so rare. It's not for glory, it's for growth. Not to rise above others, but to rise within himself. And he never forgets. No matter how high the mountain, the most important thing is to stay connected to the ground that raised you. For Cameron Haynes, the journey isn't about becoming better than others. It's about becoming better than who he was yesterday, with humility in his heart and purpose in his stride.
The relentless rise of momentum. In the quiet before dawn, when the world still sleeps, Cameron Haynes laces his shoes. Not because he feels like it, not because someone is watching, but because he made a promise to himself, and keeping it means everything. This is the heartbeat of greatness: consistency. Not the flashy kind, not the kind that makes headlines or floods social feeds. The real kind, the gritty, unshakable decision to show up when it's hard, when it's boring, when it hurts, when it's raining, when no one will ever know. Especially then. Because true strength isn't built on motivation, it's built on momentum. And momentum doesn't come in a lightning strike, it comes in daily sparks. Small fires lit again and again through action, through repetition, through the refusal to make excuses. For Haynes, this isn't theory, it's life. It's how a once-average kid transformed himself into an elite ultramarathon runner, a world-class bow hunter, a symbol of relentless human effort. Not because he was the most talented, but because he was the most consistent. Every mile logged, every lift made, every arrow loosed, each stacked on top of the last until the weight of discipline became unstoppable force. That's the truth most don't want to hear. Success isn't sexy. It's not viral. It's not born in a single yes, but in 10,000 yeses when your body says no and your mind whispers comfort. Consistency over time is how you build a mind that doesn't flinch, a body that doesn't quit, a soul that can't be broken. And it compounds. What begins as struggle becomes rhythm. What feels like punishment becomes purpose. Day by day, step by step, you become something even you didn't think was possible. And one day you look up and realize you are no longer chasing momentum. You are momentum.
Cameron Hanes isn't superhuman. He's consistent. That's the secret. He didn't wait to be inspired. He became the kind of man who inspired others by refusing to stop. Because while most people ask, what's the fastest way to the top? He asks, what's the truest way? And the answer has always been the same. Show up. Every day. Especially when you don't want to. That's how empires are built. That's how limits are shattered. That's how legends are made. Lessons for anyone, not just athletes. The universal code of Cameron Hanes. Cameron Hanes runs ultramarathons, draws back 70-pound bows, and spends days tracking elk in unforgiving terrain. On the surface, his life might seem built for outliers, elite athletes, hardened warriors, extraordinary few. But look deeper and you'll see something more powerful, a blueprint for anyone who wants more out of life. Because Hanes's discipline isn't about sports, it's about becoming unshakable. At its core, his message is simple. Show up when it's hard. Give more than you think you have. Push through pain. Work like your life depends on it. Respect the grind. Love the process. Never settle. Never stop. That's not just advice for athletes. That's advice for the entrepreneur building a business in the quiet of their kitchen, long after the kids have gone to bed. For the single parent waking up at 5 a.m. to provide a better life. For the student grinding through night classes while holding down a job. For the person fighting depression, anxiety, fear, and still choosing to try again today. Cameron's world may be the wilderness, but his wisdom applies in every arena. In business, his relentless preparation becomes a lesson in consistency, not waiting for the right moment, but creating it through action. In relationships, his humility and loyalty remind us that greatness is nothing without groundedness and gratitude. In personal growth, his daily suffering becomes sacred, a path to self-respect built one hard-earned mile at a time. He teaches that excellence is not reserved for the gifted. It's for the willing. Willing to wake up early. Willing to stay late. Willing to keep going when others quit. Willing to demand more of yourself even when no one is watching. You don't need to run 200 miles to understand his message. You just need to want something deeply and be willing to earn it painfully. Because the mountain is different for each of us. For some, it's a race. For others, it's healing. For others still, it's building a legacy. But the tools to climb are the same. Discipline, work ethic, consistency, grit, purpose. Cameron Hanes lives by those tools. He sharpens them every day. And in doing so, he's proven one undeniable truth. You don't need to be an athlete to be elite. You just need to decide that nothing, not fear, not failure, not fatigue, will stop you from becoming who you were meant to be.
If this story fired you up, if it lit even the smallest spark inside you to push harder, go further, and demand more of yourself, then don't let that flame die. Apply what you've heard. Start today. Start small, but start consistently. Because greatness isn't for the chosen, it's for the committed. And if you want to go deeper into Cameron Hanes' relentless mindset, click the link in the first comment to get the full audiobook on Audible. Listen while you run, while you lift, while you grind. Let it push you. Let it shape you. Keep hammering. Keep rising. Your best self is out there. Go meet them.